Hi, hello, and welcome back. Welcome back to Each Other's Soulmate. We are on season 1, episode 5 today. Reminder, we are a Sex in the City broadcast. We are two broads talking about our 4 favorite broads in New York City. So again, we are running season 1, episode 5 today. The title of that is The Power of Female Sex. Before we get into the episode, what would we want to talk about today, Christina?
Yeah, I just wanted to give first say hi. Hi, guys. Thanks again for joining us this week. This month that we're recording and releasing this is Pride Month, so we just wanted to give a shout out for Pride Month.
Shout out to Pride.
My makeup for Pride Month. If you're listening and can't,
which looks
it's a
beautiful
rainbow around my eye, and I did my best, and I had a lot of fun with it.
It looks absolutely beautiful,
and I just try to have fun with it. And yeah, thanks again. And I also wanted to mention thanks again so much for all of the, the feedback, all of the following, all of the encouragement. It's been really, really cool of everybody to support us in this, and we just really appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. It's been it's like such an honor. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's such an honor to put our, put content out, and for people to, even if you see it for a little bit or just appreciate it in whatever way you can, it's awesome. It's awesome. We're just talking about our views, and it's great. We're having a blast. Obviously, the show's super long. I mean, I think we got 6 seasons of the show, so we're almost halfway through the first one. So there's a lot of content to be talked about and to be done, and we are definitely determined to finish it. That's for sure. So yeah, just thank you again. Again, all feedback is welcomed. I really, we appreciate all kinds. So yeah, so we're excited. We're ready to keep going, and that's just that. So with that, let's get into episode 5 here, The Power of Female Sex.
So this episode gets started, and it introduces this brand new hip and jive restaurant called Balzac. And it starts off as
which is not Balzac, by the way.
I literally thought that a couple.
Balzac. It's Balzac, and it sounds so goofy. But yeah, that's the name of the restaurant or club.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of strange.
So goofy.
But we start off with Carrie and Samantha at the restaurant, and they can't get into the restaurant. So they are, complaining up a storm. I gotta be honest, having worked in customer service, sometimes these ladies are like my worst nightmare as a customer service person.
For sure.
I could keep my cool. But they're just really upset. They can't get a table. They end up leaving. And Samantha even mentions, if the host had been a man, she was like, I would have gotten my table. And that kind of introduces this whole, power of female sex, because it was a woman hostess. She didn't get her way, but she felt like if it had been, she would have.
And she also mentioned, she said something along the lines of I was that girl, 10, 20 years ago. So what the hell? I would have totally helped out a woman and, or this and that. And it's fair, but also too bad, so sad sometimes. But yeah, she tried to throw the I'm a person card. She was like, she's someone, I'm someone, and she's someone for sure. So we need to eat. I'm like, bitch.
I know,
Samantha.
You know who I am? That is not going to fly with me.
I'm like, no, Samantha, we don't know who you are yet.
No. And then next scene, we pan over to a Dolce & Gabbana store. So if you love 90s fashion and Y2K fashion, honestly, this show is for you. Almost 40% of the reason I love watching it is for the fashion. All the little pieces in the Dolce & Gabbana store have metallics, and they have feathers and colorful stuff.
I will add, this style of shoe is now popular again, which is super. It's definitely coming back. A lot of metallics, a lot of furry. I have a pair myself. I have a pair of pink heels that are quite furry at the toe. absolutely love them. And it's because it's so reminiscent of that time. Like when I was a little girl, I was like, I cannot wait to wear shoes like this. And
Yeah.
now I'm a woman and now I get to, you know, so very cool seeing that style when it was technically first in style.
Yeah.
So
When it was like brand.
yeah, we're at Dolce & Gabbana. Carrie's trying on shoes.
And then she tries to buy the pair of shoes that she wants. And like her card doesn't just get declined. It like the customer service representative like gets a pair of scissors and cuts her card in half and is like, now they want to talk to you.
No, he said they asked me to do this and they want to talk to you.
Yeah.
The bank asked him to snap that card, cut that card in half. They said, limit is reached.
Oh my gosh.
So also this is just like, I like how this kind of is the intro. This is the first episode and intro to Carrie having financial issues. This is our first kind of little like of.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, like it's kind of like this is where it's kind of acknowledged, you know, Miss Starving Artist over there. So
yeah. And then
well, not essentially, maybe just poor money choices, but
yeah.
That's kind of the point.
Which is a habit you see continuing in the show.
Right.
And then in comes Amelita with her boyfriend's credit card. Amelita is honestly one of the like top 5 characters of the series. This is her only episode.
Underrated.
Unfortunately, she is extremely underrated. We love Amelita. We want justice for Amelita. Like, she is the best. But she sees this situation unfold and she throws her boyfriend's credit card and is like, you know,
she said, "Excusa."
Yeah.
She's like,
so cute.
Here's this one. This one will work.
And she like a thick Italian accent, and she's so pretty. She's just like really, really cool. And she's like, "Don't worry about paying me back. You're like a sister to me. Like, you're just like she's just girl all the way around." And then you know, Carrie does the whole like talking to the camera, breaking the fourth wall thing. And she's like hugging Amelie, and literally behind her back is saying like most people would classify her as Euro trash, which is the first time I've ever heard that term. Yeah, and she's like, but I think she's fun. So she's she's like, I thought she was fun. That's why we hang out, you know, and kind of thing, and they're embracing. But yeah, so Amelie insists that she, you know, she's like, no, I'm getting you these shoes. I've never gotten you a birthday present, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I insist. Plus it's on Carlo. She, you know, pans over to Carlo, which is her boyfriend at the time. And I love her little introduction. It says nothing about Carlo at all. Or no, she says something like does his family have money? Or is that later on in the episode? All she mentions is this scene for sure, is that he has a tiny little penis, but he knows exactly how to use it. That's all we know about Carlo so far, and that he's loaded. And so he's nice, you know.
Yeah, he just waves over. He's like, "Yeah, use my credit card. You're welcome.
It's okay." And I like this last part. Amelia calls herself a citizen of the world. I thought that.
Oh, I love that.
She's like a travel.
She's a Sagittarius.
Yeah, probably. And then back at Carrie's place, we switch over to the next scene, and she's talking, you know, like in her inner monologue about Amelita, about how she envied her, how her life was a blur of rich men, designer clothes, and vacations. She talks about how Amelita didn't actually work for a living, but she possessed a dazzling sexual power that she exploited to her full advantage, which leads to the episode's kind of like one of the questions, which is, where is the line between professional girlfriend and professional?
Just plain professional,
yeah,
right?
Just plain professional. And
yeah, I
think that this question is really interesting, not just from like her point of view in the episode, but from a modern point of view, where
absolutely
literally apps for this. There's websites and apps, and this is an industry. I feel like back then it was a little bit more hush hush and not so like.
It's definitely taboo for sure. But even nowadays with things like OnlyFans and you know, there's still a huge stigma attached to women
Oh
who
yeah,
do that as their sole income. Why? I don't know. I don't know why people are so upset. I'm like, look, if there's a market, obviously this woman or whoever is making this money because people are paying for it. If it's legal, that's their own prerogative. If they're willing to put themselves on the line and put themselves to, you know, willing to be exposed at whatever capacity they're comfortable with for profit, that's on them, you know.
yeah,
So,
kind of like
and that's a huge stigma still.
her body, her choice. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. But I can, you know, it's still, there's definitely still a stigma attached. This is definitely the modern kind of way of not I wouldn't say exploiting, but like, you know, it's profiting on, you know, people's sexual desires or just desires in general. And women and men do it alike too, or you know, people, it any people utilize it because there's a kink for everything. There's a person for everyone.
Yeah.
The market is endless when it comes to this, and it's like, why not explore it if it's consensual and legal?
Yeah. I hear that. Man. And then yeah, so we pan over to the next scene, and now we're back at Carrie's apartment, but it's like later, and she's with her friends, all the four broads, and they're staying in and playing poker and talking about this, and you know, Samantha brings up a good point. She's like, women have the right to use every means at their disposal to get power, to achieve power. Miranda comes in saying, short of sleeping with them. Samantha says, not if that's what it takes.
Right.
So I thought that was an interesting kind of like, you know, like,
Well, it shows a
well,
perspective and then another perspective.
yeah,
It shows like, oh, it's to a certain point and then it's to the other certain point. So it's like Samantha takes it there and she's like, fuck it, do it.
yeah,
It's you know, why not?
and
And then Miranda's like, well, what the hell?
yeah, but I feel like her kind of idea is that it's like you're gonna lose power in the process as a woman, and that's why
Right, like you're
I'm against it.
yeah, like you're subjecting yourself to like a lot of people I guess have this misconception. I think that women women especially who do this, like that's they're like that's the easy way. A lot of people I think feel that profession or that way of profiting is easy. Like anything in this world, everything has a difficulty, everything has a pro and con, everything. So to just kind of sit there and say like you took the easy way out because you're using your body for profit or you're using your whatever for profit, that's horse shit and a half. Horse shit and a half. One, it takes bravery. It takes fucking balls. You know, not everyone wants their fucking asshole on the internet. And if you do it and you're comfortable, that's on you. That's on you. That's all I'm saying on it. I'm all for whatever. If it's consensual and legal, the world is your oyster. Go forth and prosper. Cuz shit. Real quick though, their whole poker night thing, she mentions this, she goes, oh well, we're doing a poker night at my place because of basically like my card got cut, I don't have any money to do anything anymore. And she even, you know, she nods to it there. So there is a big theme again. This episode
Yeah,
really highlights Carrie's like financial
yeah,
struggle.
that
And we'll see how it ties in more throughout the episode.
yeah, that reminds me. She does kind of say like she's playing poker with them to see if she can get money out of them. She does say that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is a good point. And so, okay, we pan over. We're still in the same scene, but then now Charlotte starts talking, and she asks the question, what if you get advances in your career just because you're charming? So just because somebody is like interested in you to whatever degree
Mm-hmm.
they're interested in you, you get opportunities. Like, is that the same thing? Is that bad? So in her particular case, she is talking about a famous painter that came to her gallery. This guy is very famous in the art world there, and he is very famously reclusive as well. So when he came out for his like once a year trip to Manhattan, he just so happened to run into Charlotte and invited her back to his farm.
Neville Morgan.
Yeah.
That's his name in the show.
So they kind of make a joke, and we're like, do you think he's gonna like ask you to hold his brush?
I loved it. I thought that was cute. I loved Miranda's response, though, to it was my favorite thing ever. She said, you know, we're going to sue if he ever does that. And then Samantha goes, oh my God, you're like the Harvard Law Lorena Bobbitt.
Yeah.
And I fucking loved that line.
The only proper way to trade sex for power is to sue somebody.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Line from a lawyer.
The Harvard Law Lorena Bobbitt, man. What a way to be like classified. I love that, man. If you don't know who Lorena Bobbitt is, you can either Google that or to get a little bit more info, or we're just going to say straight up, she cut off a dude's dick. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. There's a lot more to this story and to this case, and it's actually very interesting. So I would recommend looking up a documentary on Lorena Bobbitt. Next.
Okay. Skipper comes in. Y'all remember Skipper? He's been in a couple episodes. Him and Miranda have had an interesting kind of situation so far, but he's there to pick her up. And it's like, you can like...
He's so goofy. She was like, he's supposed to be here like an hour from now. He's here early. She opens a door and she's like, you're early. And he's like, should I just wait outside for an hour? And Carrie's like, Skipper, get in here, and closes the door behind him. He said, should I just wait out here? Like, man, get a backbone, son. Golly, Skipper.
And then...
What an interesting name. Hold on. First of all, is Skipper his legal name, or is this a nickname? Now I'm curious. Because what an interesting name if that was like someone's legal name. Cool, different, but I wonder if it's a nickname, right? It's never disclosed.
I was like trying to think, like, is it short for anything? I'm like, no, it feels like it is. I'm not sure. Well,
anyway, Skipper's here.
Okay, so after poker night, Carrie is at her apartment. She's like going to bed early, in bed with a book, you know. And she gets a call from Amelita, and Amelita invites her to go to Balzac. And, you know, the same
back to Balzac
get into before, she's explicitly being invited now. And she tells Amelita, like, dude, I'm broke. I can't go. And Amelita's like, just show up and be your fabulous self. Don't even worry about it. And so she goes and she gets introduced to Gilles. Gilles?
Gilles, yeah.
Gilles.
Gilles.
Yeah.
It's a French name.
And he's a French architect and a friend of Amelita's boyfriend, Carlo. And Amelita just, like, talks up Carrie so much. She talks about how smart she is, how talented she is, how beautiful
she loves her.
And she's just, like, you know, she's just so sweet. And Carrie and Jill hit it off. And, you know, they're, like, walking home together. And, you know, as they're kind of talking, he kind of says something, and she's like, wait, but didn't you say this earlier? And then they, like, go on with the rest of the conversation. Like, he's kind of being a little, I don't know, a little shady. And then...
I didn't get that.
No, you didn't get that?
No, not at all. She talks about, she's like, this is a French architect, can't speak. You know, he told me he's recently divorced. He has a kid. They're back there in France.
But,
you know,
when they first start walking, he's like inviting her to like Brazil or something, and she's like, he invited her somewhere, and she was like, didn't you say you're gonna be over here? And he's like, oh, you know.
He said, no biggie, come with me.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Oh, okay.
He was like, screw it. Yeah. He said, screw it. And then she said, this is where I thought this was hilarious. She was like, talking about something. And she's like, well, I do have a little bit of a substance abuse problem. And he looks at her mortified. He's like, and she goes, oh, expensive footwear. And I'm like, bitch.
I feel like
sure. He was the relief that came over him.
Yeah. If I was
But I'm like, this was New York in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have felt a little like kind of like and then relief if I heard that on a first date too. But
yeah.
She walks away from the date like floating on air. Like she literally like
Well, he asked her out to hang out the next day.
Yeah.
So they try and guarantee the next day. I just wanted to talk about this floating scene. Do you know how corny that fucking scene is? I never once, there is not any other scene in this entire series that is goofy as hell as that one. They have Carrie legitimately levitating off into the air. You can see the New York street just coast away as she's levitating up here. And I'm like, whose goofy ass idea was this?
Yeah.
She's like, I felt like I was floating, and they had her floating. Goofy as hell. But it's no longer symbolism. It's right in front of me. So anyway.
And then
so goofy. I literally wrote goofy ass floating shot.
Yeah. Not
party for this. Anyway. Next scene, I think Skipper goes over to Carrie's apartment, right?
Mm-hmm. And then I always thought this scene was really interesting because, like, in the Carrie is like changing her clothes in front of Skipper in this scene as they're talking, and I always thought that was like an interesting kind of like dynamic.
That's her friend.
Did that ever stand out to you though? At all?
It's I saw it when I saw that. I noticed that too. I was like, oh, she's kind of like in her bra, like she's still wearing pants, but she's getting dressed. That's her friend.
Yeah.
That's her friend. She trusts him. He's shown no interest in her, and she's just like, I'm throwing on some clothes, like I'm in my apartment, you came to my place, like I'm getting ready or whatever, no biggie. Like,
yeah,
it'd be the same like seeing someone in a bikini, kind of deal too. So but she trusts him, and that's her friend. That's at least what I would see.
I'm just curious if because I don't know, it was just an interesting dynamic that is really open that I'm not so used to seeing with Carrie's character.
Yeah, it's definitely like not common for her with men she's interested in. That's just Carrie.
Yeah.
But Skipper is talking in this scene about how hung up he is on Miranda. I mean, to the point where he's like, I am like eat, sleep, breathe Miranda, like we have sex and that's all I can think about. There's nothing else in this world. And I'm like, goddamn, Miranda's must be fucking platinum down there, because holy God, or he's just a young man obsessed.
Yeah.
So
he even goes as far as to say that like his obsession is so intense that he like can't control it, and he can feel it turning her off. And so, like, that's, like, what's, like, kind of scary.
Which is fair.
Like, oh, shit, like... And then he starts going on and on about how he can't get enough of her. And he even says, like, I don't even shower after we have sex because I like to smell like her for the rest of the day.
Honestly, I have heard that from a man before. Totally. And... that's hot. That's hot, and like, as long as it's not like creepy or like everyday kind of thing. But like, you get that. You're like, oh God, I can still smell them on me. It's like you're like, oh, my shirt smells like them kind of thing, or like, oh, like that's normal when you're attracted to someone. There's that sense of like There's that sense of like primal pheromones that like
Yeah.
I totally get. I'm really into the pheromone thing, so I get it. Like sweat. Sweat is great. Like sweat. I get it. I get it, Skipper. You're not weird at all. I get you there, buddy.
Oh my goodness. And it's just really funny because, like, as he's saying that, she's like trying to be helpful and like holding his hand, and then she's just like, oh. And the next,
Yeah,
like,
she's a
her
little.
hands. Oh, like it's a little too close for her comfort, I guess. But you know, she just kind of began to fear, like, or she in her monologue, she's like, I'm kind of starting to be scared that Miranda's sexuality is overpowering Skipper.
Mm-hmm.
That he just can't handle it. He's just too enthralled,
Yeah.
too into it, to the point where he's kind of losing himself in it. And I can, like, not in this scenario, but I can relate to that, where it's like you like somebody too much, and it's like you kind of fall into.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, like, yeah, you fall into it, and you're just kind of like, it's like fall,
You're super enthralled.
and it hurts just as bad.
It's like falling in what?
It's like falling downstairs to me. Like when you know,
That's a good way of putting it.
because it's like you just
It leaves you battered and bruised for
yeah,
fucking
like,
sure.
I'm like, I can't even.
I get it. Sometimes you fall too hard for someone, whether it's looks, whether it's one interaction, whether it's whatever. But some people like they get that like laser beam shit, and they're like,
Yeah.
"It's you, and that's what I want." And then most of the time you get burned in that process because it's not anything real. It's mainly lust,
Yeah.
you know. So, which is fine. Lust is fine, and acting out lust is fine. But we all know how powerful that can be.
Yeah.
So.
But in these kind of scenarios where it's so one-sided, like one person is feeling that and the other person is, that's the
issue there. It's got to be close to equal for that stuff to work. You got to both be very passionate about each other. Otherwise, it's just, you know, here and there.
Exactly.
So, and it's never fun to be on their side. Whoever's up here, they got all the power. So. But we go to the next day, and Carrie and Gilles are on their little date. They spend the day in New York.
Oh, I wanted to mention. Okay, so on their date, and this is for like as you watch the show, you'll notice the theme music that they play in this scene where they're showing them on their date is a theme music like song that it shows up a lot in the series. I caught it this when I was listening to the episode. I was like, oh wait, they play that in this episode, and they also play it in this episode, and I think they play it in another episode too, and they use the same music for different tones.
Very cool.
It's just something to look out for. But they have all these romantic scenes of Carrie and Gilles, the French architect, you know, just going around New York City and doing all the touristy things, just having a great day together. And then they pan to their hotel room, and, you know, they're making out in the hotel room, and she's just like, no, I don't sleep with men on the first date. And he just keeps kissing her, and it's consensual. And she just, like, kind of convinces herself, well, it's tomorrow in Paris, so maybe I haven't only known him for one day. You know, and
That's so goofy. The whole stigma of like the one night stand during this time too. It's like he's a French architect that's going to be leaving in like 2 days. Like you're just going to kiss and say goodbye. Like get it in.
Yeah, like
come on, Carrie. Don't be a fucking prude here. And like note, he's not just a French architect. She doesn't mention this before. He's incredibly handsome. We're talking like model fucking like chisel face. Like this is a very, very, very typically handsome man. This is a man that like my great grandmother would paint because she's like the angles on this man are just immaculate. So like you're telling me you're just gonna be like, oh, I'm sorry, I've only known you for 18 hours. We can't do this even though you're leaving back to Paris. Bitch, don't act like you're holier than thou. Anyway, and that's why she's like, oh, I guess it's already tomorrow in Paris. Like, Don't be a fucking prude. Just do it.
Oh my god.
Like, Nike that shit, bitch.
So she does it.
So she does.
She does it. She goes through with it with the uncomfortably handsome French architect. And, you know, we go to the next morning and they spent the night together. And he's leaving for his flight and he just like insists, like, just stay in bed. It's okay. Like he's
Order room service.
really insistent that she doesn't get up from the bed. Like, to the point where
Yeah.
I felt like it got a little like, okay, dude, like, you know. No.
Not at all.
No,
Not at all. You and I have such different views sometimes.
No, it's so wild.
He was like, no, he goes, I have to leave. Please stay and enjoy yourself. We're in a nice hotel. Order room service on my dime. Don't rush.
That's true. Yeah.
That's my fantasy. Okay?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? There's nothing weird about that at all. That's how a man should behave.
Well,
that's a gentleman.
I felt that it was weird considering like the next couple moments. So
even then,
he tells her just order room service, like don't worry about it. And as he's like leaving, she's like realizing they never exchanged phone numbers. Ever. Like they never,
because he said to call her or to call him.
And mind you, it's like in the 90s, there's no social media, Facebook to look him up on. You know,
there's no yellow pages in France at the time, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, but she looks over on the nightstand and she sees a letter with her name on it. And so she's like, "Oh, I guess he wrote me a letter." You know, cool. And she opens it and she pulls out $1,000 in cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Pause right here.
$1,000.
What would you do?
Not fucking complain. I'm never gonna see this guy again. I am never gonna see this man again. If I do bump into him, you know what I get to say? Thank you.
I feel
my credit card just got cut in half.
Sweet.
Here's $1,000 cash.
Like, okay.
Was it a little, you know, reminiscent of prostitution? Probably. And this is what they talk about. Like, what the fuck is that? But we forgot to add, during this entire time that they talk, they're in their whole date, she alludes to how broke she is.
The whole
multiple times to him.
And like,
not just to Amelita, to him.
Yeah.
She talks about how broke she is as a writer. And so that's all and it's like, if he gave it to her for sex or just to be nice because he was like, what a nice, that's where it is. Here's $1,000. You can either give it to someone else, leave it there for the fucking staff, you know, whatever. It's cash. He obviously was so like, it didn't pay him no mind to leave that money there.
No.
So
I just assumed, like, you know, when you go to a foreign country, you have to get your money exchanged. I just figured, like, that's what he had left in, like, in dollars.
He did that as a convenience.
Yeah, like, that's what I assumed, too. Like, was like, okay, like, just so he didn't have to, like, you know, like, because French art travels, like, to different countries. I'm sure $1,000 isn't very much.
He said, what am I going to do with these English bills?
I mean,
you can still use American money in other places. He said he did it out of convenience. That's amazing. I love that take. Actually. I love that.
It was one of the things I thought.
No, it makes sense, but I wouldn't even think of something like that. That's why I love that. Love that you thought of that.
Man. Yes. So we get to the next scene, and they're still in the hotel room, and we have Miranda and Samantha with Carrie now in the hotel room, and
she invited them to profit off of her
to eat
her room service.
He said, get whatever you want, so she invited her friends to come and get whatever they wanted. Obviously, he can
hell yeah
dollars in the end table. He can afford a couple meals, you know.
Oh yeah.
So they start talking about, you know, the dynamics that just kind of occurred. Like, she told them about the $1,000 on the end table, And obviously, the same kind of perspective carries over from the earlier conversation. Miranda's like, ordering room service is one thing, but you can't take that money. And Samantha, in her iconic self, is, she says, money is power, sex is power. Therefore, getting money for sex is simply an exchange of power. And, question for the audience, a question for you, like, should one take this as a compliment or an insult? Because that's what they asked in the episode. Like, would you be complimented or insulted? Because I think Carrie thought they actually had a connection, but now she's kind of, this was a financial exchange, Kind of.
I see that. Regardless, though, at least it was a nice interaction. Like,
Yeah.
they, had good conversation. They had a nice time together. They obviously had sex. It was a nice interaction overall. I don't know what she thought was going to happen. Did she really think that this dude was going to just like, that they were going to continue this like whirlwind global romance and end up together and she was going to go move with him? Did she think that was going to happen? Probably not. So regardless of, huh?
I'm like, I don't think she thought that far ahead.
Right. I do. I always think of this shit because I'm crazy. But it's like, it's money. And like, I definitely agree with Samantha on the whole kind of, it's power and, it's exchange and who cares? Like for me, like money is money. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. We'll make it happen kind of thing. I don't know if I'd ever be insulted, but a man's never given me money. So I've never been there, but I don't know. Maybe that should be the new norm. I now expect after every single date, I want $100. $100.
That's it.
If we go to the movies, $100. Yeah, at least right. Look at the economy. I'm being affordable. Okay.
That's true.
Movie, $100. Dinner, $100. Sex is probably going to be 500 at least. That's the minimum. I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. I'm not prostituting. That's illegal. Unfortunately. Just kidding.
So in this exchange, Miranda starts kind of asking questions about Amelita and is like, is she like a hooker? Like, are you getting put in like a ring of hookers or something? And like, Carrie's just like, no, like she is who she is. And I don't know, like this kind of, I noticed that Samantha was very quiet in that scene, that part of that scene. Honestly, I feel like Samantha and Amelita might have been friends. Like they, she's
I can see that
in this part of the conversation. She just kind of like watched and observed, and I just really wonder, like, because they both kind of had that like same kind of approach to life where it's just like, who cares, like,
yeah,
have fun, go be beautiful.
They're both very carefree of like, we're young, we're beautiful, we're gonna travel the world, we're gonna fuck it. Yeah, Samantha really doesn't say anything.
No, I don't know if this is me being biased. I feel like they're both fire signs. That could just be me, but
yeah, I can see that. I think we just naturally too are just kind of like that too. I'm always an advocate for, if you're not hurting anyone, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
I could care less if you are a professional girlfriend or whatever the fuck they called her in the beginning.
Professional boyfriend.
Make it fucking work, bitch. If that was something that was like more solidified, if I could nail that, I have not, unfortunately, but I have not been able to nail that role. If I could, I would. Looking like this, I don't know. I don't know if guys with boats want to hang out with me.
I've been propositioned a couple times online, but I don't think any of it was legit. It kind of seemed like bots or something.
Oh, is it spam people asking for feet pictures?
Ah, that happens like a lot.
Yeah. Like, that happens a lot. That's normal.
Yeah, okay.
It's definitely normal.
Getting with the times, right? And then, in this moment, it kind of, like, Samantha says this line that triggers Miranda. Like, and says,
rough.
she says, men give, women receive. It's biological destiny. And Miranda just kind of like, oh no! Like, she just like goes off. And like, I really felt this moment because like, I feel like, you know, sometimes things get heated and you just kind of like go off on your friend and like, you just like start going off. But it's not like, you're like being angry at them. You're just like being passionate about what you're talking about. But from an outside perspective, it looks like you're being like angry.
It looks really argumentative.
Yeah, but it's your best friend, so you know, like, it's not the case. And Carrie just kind of like cuts them off and is like, you know, I'm just gonna write this off as a bad date with a cash bonus. And Miranda just like she just like, you know, the salmon is really good. You know, like the tension is just completely diffused.
That is you and me in a nutshell. Our conversations. I go from screaming like I always do, like you guys hear, and then I'm just like, that's a really pretty bird. Like, it's just, that's what it is. I'm just like screaming about the top of my lungs over something I'm so passionate about, or something Christina said, and I'll be like, and then this and that. And then I'm like, oh, how cute. Like, no, it's not directed at her. It's just, normally she'll say one thing and then it like incites me for that topic or whatever. I fire it off. She's like, yeah. And then that's it. And, you know, and vice versa too.
I've definitely been accused of being too deadpan with some of my deliveries sometimes. So I come off a lot more like upset than I actually am, but it's me just being like, what? Like it's just,
yeah, you have a very stern way of delivering things. It's very like, it's just there
like that, but I am who I am, you know.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, you know, and this reminds me of a cute little story from when we were in high school. Helping Bella study for a test, and I don't remember what subject it was or anything, but for some reason I was better at it than she was or whatever, which was not usually the case. But you know,
what was it now? Now I'm curious.
It was probably English, because like you were always so good at like the science and stuff and like that kind of field. I was more the writer, like.
Oh, too. I loved editing. I loved editing back then. So that's why I'm like, I don't remember what I don't know. I don't know. Back then, who knows? Anyway, we did so many subjects. Who fucking knows any one of them?
Anyways, I'm helping her study, and we're in our high school courtyard, and she gets frustrated, and she just yells like, "Fuck this!" And like everybody in the courtyard just like turns and looks, because like, you know, she just yelled at me, she just cussed at me, and I felt like this moment of like everybody's waiting for my reaction, and I was just basically like, shut the fuck up and get back to it. Like, and then we got back to work like it wasn't even a thing.
Yeah, and then I was just like, oh, all right.
And we weren't. Like, it's just that kind of best friend dynamic that.
FS too. We went to a high school where like not everyone cursed.
Yeah. Yeah.
There were very, very well-behaved children at this school. This was a very nice high school. Everyone behaved. I did not. I am the first one to say I was a little fucking brat in high school for goddamn sure. But
you were a brat.
I made the most of it, okay? I graduated, okay?
You did graduate.
I graduated along with everyone else. So, but no, yeah, I was very vocal. I was a very like rebellious teenager in my day. I was very anti-authority.
One look at you for our freshman year of high school, I was like, that one's gonna be my best friend. I don't know how yet. I saw her in a Courage the Cowardly Dog t-shirt and red hair, and I was like, that's gonna be my best friend.
I miss that t-shirt.
I know. And look at us all these years later.
Look at us now. Look at us now. Who would have thought?
Who would have thunk? Anyways, we go back to Charlotte out with the painter at his farm. What's his name?
We're back to what's his name? Neville Morgan.
Neville Morgan. And
did we ever, we didn't introduce what his art was famous, like what? Has it not been talked about yet until now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost. We're almost there. It's like, yeah.
All right.
So, Charlotte gets out of the cab. She's like, thank you so much. This is the high point of my career. Like, it means a lot to her, and it is a really big deal that she's doing this. Because, if you don't remember from episode 1 or whatever, Charlotte works at an art gallery. This is Charlotte's world. This is what she does. This is her thing, and this is really important. So he takes her to his barn, and he unveils what he's been working on. Take it away, Bella.
It's a bunch of kind of Georgia or O'Keeffe styled floral paintings that are not just what's the perfect word for this? It's not like subdued that they're vaginas. You can tell they're vaginas in a flower. Of course, a little more abstract, but that's the center of the piece, which is really cool. By the way, it's definitely
And he's like,
I like art like that. So
he's extremely into it too. He says, like, I have it here. It's the closest thing he's ever come to universal God force. Like, this is the creation of life. He's like, so just like, oh God.
He says the cunt. That's how he says it.
The cunt. That is the only word he uses.
Point blank.
And, Charlotte even kind of thinks to herself, like, I don't fucking like this word, but that's not somebody correct. So
There's so many
cunt.
There's so many people who still feel that word is so gritty and so nasty, and like even my own family from England hates that word. I mean, hate it. And the fact that in Gen Z, that is the biggest fucking compliment you can get is like, she's serving cunt. So cunty. Like, it's the funniest thing now, and I'm so here for it. And Gen Z, please keep coming out with new terms because they're so fucking funny all the time. I am obsessed with the lingo of Gen Z. Obsessed. Anyway, we're talking about cunts.
And so, speaking of cunts, his wife comes in and is like, hi, dear, like, let's have... And this all builds up to this guy asking her, like, can I paint you?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, if we can, like, focus on this moment, like, Charlotte is in a farm. Like, it's, like, out
in the country somewhere.
And, she's with this artist who's famous and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
They have been very respectful this entire time.
She's offering her lemonade and cookies
that she made. She's being very sweet, and they're just like, "Can we paint you? Or can he paint you?"
Mm-hmm.
And then his wife says a line that like lives in my head rent free. I think it's everything about the way she said it. Her accent, the tone, the sincerity. But she looks at Charlotte and she's like, I bet you have a beautiful cunt, dear. And her little...
I love it. She was so excited. She was just like, I think this is great. Look at you. Like, this is going to be an awesome piece,
Yeah.
And she's so into her husband's work. And I think that's so beautiful.
Him, like, wow. Like, she just loves
him.
And she recognizes, like, it doesn't seem to be a sexual thing for him. He's just, like, so enamored this, like, idea of,
which goes for many in art form. I think people have this assumption that anything sex related is going to have some kind of sexual gratification in the process of making it. I never agree with that statement. I think that think of what we're doing now. We have a podcast where we talk about predominantly sexual encounters or sexual things. Are we getting off on that? Maybe a little, but like,
I mean,
but no, truthfully, it's a discussion because it's very real. And I think the whole taboo nature of it, it makes people feel like, oh, anything that's not in the bedroom, like you're a sex fiend. And I'm like, no, calm down. Like, this is a very natural, human, and like important process in procreation and just in mentality. One of my favorite things, I think the person who not made me, but who allowed me to like not feel ashamed for any kind of sex or anything was my aunt. Growing up, I was probably like anywhere from like 4 to 6, 7 years old. I can't remember. We were watching Titanic. And normally, my grandma made me cover my eyes at any kind of sexual scene. I was at my aunt's house and we were watching Titanic. And I was like, my grandma makes me cover my eyes here. She goes, Bella, this is a perfectly natural, normal thing that adults do when they love each other. She said, this is fine.
You said,
and that I was probably anywhere from 4 to 7, somewhere in there. I was still very young. But she was like, this is natural. This is what people do. This is what adults do. And once I had that like level of like reassurance, my like, I'm not kidding you, I had like a fucking on switch turn on of like, huh, okay. I was like, and then I'm like, cool, this is a natural thing, never shamed into it. And then like from that moment on, I was like, no one else can shame me into it, because the person I admire, one of the most, people I admire, was like, no, this is normal and you're not going to feel bad for watching it or talking about it or anything. And like, yeah, game on, let's talk about it. Things are too hush hush for people. We all have to admit that we are all freaks. We all have kinks. We all have desires. Get over it. Deal with it.
I feel that. My person like that was Dr. Don Lucas. I took his class in college, Human Sexuality. That was an amazing
favorite classes.
It was
one of my favorite classes.
And it was just so eye-opening. And one of the biggest things that we learned in the process was, the more you learn about sex, the more you realize you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It's such a huge topic with so many different, it's a spectrum like that is endless,
huge,
infinite, and nobody will ever truly understand the entirety of it. But that's what's so cool about what we're doing, is like we are taking the time to talk about these things and discuss them and like expand what we do know, and we're learning together, and that's just so cool.
I love it. The psychology of it all too. I too also took sex history. I was a psychology major wanting to be a sex therapist when I first was in college. And like, it's so funny too, we mentioned this, is like on my mic stand here to hold it up, it's a literal book about Masters of Sex, which is about William Masters and Virginia Johnson, who like are on the forefront of that kind of thing. So I thought that it's just funny. Like, it just shows like how you can be educated, and it's an educational aspect, along with being like a primal desire. And I love that there's like an essential science to it all, and I love that we get to talk about this as two women and people want to listen to. I think that that's really cool. I think being a sex positive person, it's just it's very cool to be able to openly talk about it on a platform where so many people can hear, because then maybe they other people can feel comfortable and not ashamed or whatever. You can talk to us, you can talk to whoever. We're not going to shame you
if you talk to us about it. It would be,
we don't kink shame.
No, never.
No. So yeah, that's our little spiel about sex positivity. Yeah. It's Pride Month.
It is.
It is. Happy Pride. I'm part of the community. Let's go.
Let's go. So, back to the episode.
Anyway, Charlotte agrees. Charlotte agrees to have her portrait done.
We don't know that yet. She thinks
she do? Oh, does she really? I thought she agrees to it in that scene.
I thought she didn't. We'll have to double check that part.
We'll double check, but
yeah.
Anyways,
back at Balzac, Carrie and Samantha are denied entry again. Samantha figured that, just because Carrie had already been in there, that they could get in now. That wasn't the case.
Yeah. No.
And as Carrie's going to the restroom, she gets called by Amalita to come and meet her at the other side of the bar. So
Because
again,
they're also there at the restaurant or
again,
wherever.
yes. And so
Yeah.
right now, Samantha's like at the front of the restaurant, I assume. Carrie was going to the restrooms, but then goes to Amalita's table. And Amalita is there with these people, and, you know, they're all so chic and glamorous and beautiful that Carrie's just kind of like kind of nervous as she's walking up to them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they're talking, and they invite Carrie to a film festival and start inviting her to, like, you know, join them in these like glamorous adventures that they're having together. And you know, they're just talking and stuff, and as they're talking, one of the men grabs Carrie by the waist, unprompted, like as he's laughing. You know, I've been in that
I
situation.
feel like it was more so her butt.
Not, yeah, like he grabs her waist.
I think it was a little more.
It was kind of
It was a little more south.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she immediately took his hand and like threw it back. She was like, no.
But not happening.
Which is where I think internally she had the moment of like, what is Amelita doing? Is this what this is? Is what's kind of going on here?
Because
you know,
like now a pattern where the men that Amelita introduces her to kind of feel like they have this
like overworldly claim almost
towards her.
Yeah, or entitlement. That's better word.
Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah, I agree.
And she kind of like has this inner monologue at this point, and she thinks to herself, like, you know, if I were to do this, I can make this work. And, you know, she's so broke right now that she's kind of in this position of like, I could take that trip and take this $1,000 for that trip, and then be able to kind of like do this snowball effect that leads to me getting into a marriage with a rich man, and then an even richer divorce, like,
or living like the Amelita lifestyle too. Yeah. You know,
exactly. Like, she kind of like swishes it in her mouth a little bit here, and is like, "Do I want this?" And then that's when the guy like grabs at her, and she's like, "No, I don't want this." And so she's just like, she kind of has this like, you know, I don't need to give up my morals to be financially secure.
Yeah, which is fine. That's, again, we were like what we were kind of alluding to earlier. If you're comfortable with it, absolutely. But if you're not comfortable with it, then don't.
Yeah, just don't.
Simple as that.
Yeah. You know, and we pan over to Carrie finally making it to the restroom, and she just kind of thinks to herself, you know, I thought this was cute. She was like, well, my going rate for a one night stand is now established as $1,000. You go, girl.
Period.
And the power of the girls' room.
The power of the girls' room.
Part of going out to the club, to the bar, whatever, is the girls' room. It is the best. You always make friends there.
The lasting friendships that last about 5 minutes in that bar are some of the most powerful examples of womanhood and girlhood I will ever experience in my lifetime. Is the women you meet in a bar when you're faded as fuck.
Plastered.
Okay? These are your like hanging on to dear life, tits out probably, having to readjust everything. Someone's doing cocaine in the fucking stall next to you. Someone else is offering more.
Someone's holding someone's hair back.
Someone's holding someone's hair back.
Should I text my ex and we're all telling her not to?
Do you know how many times that has actually happened where we're sitting in a stall and we're like, should I text him back? And you hear an uproar of everyone in that bathroom. No! That is actually, not only is that a TikTok, not only is that a thing, that has legitimately happened to me.
That is facts.
It's facts. That's what, I miss it. I don't go out as much as I used to, unfortunately. But that kind of camaraderie, I so deeply miss. When we're at the reunion, there was a girl who's pretty fucked up, and I was so mad that I wasn't there. She was probably like up here, and I was like down here, and I was like, I can't even match this girl right now. There's nothing I can say to her that would match any of that energy right now. But she was so fucked up, and I was like, to be young.
Good for her.
But yeah. The girls' room.
So the girls' room where you make friends.
For life.
Here comes the hostess that would not give them a seat. And she kind of at the stall and is like, "Can I have a tampon? Like, do you have a tampon?" And Carrie's like, "Yeah, I do. Here you go."
She's like, "Hell yeah, bitch.
Yeah.
Here you go."
So they never have to worry about getting a table again. She now has a girl bestie thanks to the girls' room. You know, like that's her girl now.
An exchange of power. That is the theme of the entire episode, and I love that they did it to where it's like, and they literally they motion to it. They shoot the like exchange of the tampon over, and it's like that's what we talk about. It's all everything that we've been discussing is this power play and this power dynamic, and crazy. Thought it was super cute that's how they alluded to everything too. So.
And then we end the episode at Charlotte's art show where her cunt is debuted.
And they're like, "Which one are you? Which one are you? Which one are you?"
This is one of my favorite the entire show.
It's
also,
cute.
Charlotte's look in this scene, my favorite of the episode. Her hair.
I have a dress like that now.
You do. You should wear it.
I do. I have a Charlotte. As I was rewatching it, I was like, that's the cut of dress I got. Like the cap sleeve is back, so a short sleeve, a very square neckline, and like just black or whatever color. One of my favorite cuts that I've discovered for myself, and I have that little dress, and like seeing Charlotte in that same cut, I was like, it was just so cool. And I really loved the way they dressed in that scene too, because Miranda it was probably post work, so she was in her suit, had a real nice big statement necklace, like looked super nice. Carrie was in her cute little her literal robe, I might add, that she uses at home, but like styled the way it did, it slayed. So super cute. I forgot what Samantha was wearing. I was more focused on Charlotte and the other girls, but Samantha always looks classic and always looks timeless. So, but yeah. So I think she whispers to Carrie, like, whatever number it is. And then Carrie whispers to the girls, like, it's this one. And then you see them all like run towards the painting. And they're all like, oh,
look
wow.
Because like this painting is like probably like what 6-8 feet tall.
It's huge. We're talking like
huge painting.
A big painting.
Cunt, like holy
as a flower. As a lovely little flower.
You know.
Yeah, it was super cool. I love art like that. I love like sexually ambiguous art. I think it's some of my favorite.
Like posing for a famous artist like that.
I would love to. Are you kidding?
It's so cool.
If someone wanted to do that, I would be the first contender. I think that's so fucking cool. Please turn.
I bet you have a beautiful cunt, dear.
Please turn my vag into a flower. I don't know. Like, why am I uncomfortable saying cunt sometimes too? I like saying cunt and like cunty, but like, or like you're a cunt kind of thing. But like actually describing her as that, and I'm like, it's a little derogatory sometimes. Ooh. It's a little much. I don't want to insult her right now. Oh my God.
Yeah, I definitely don't use that term in my day-to-day language. I think it's just really funny, like, in this scene.
I say her a lot.
That's how you...
Yeah, when it comes to vaginas, I'm like she. It's she. Her. She definitely has pronouns, and it's she, her. So, happy Pride Month. We have so much fun doing this podcast. If you guys made it this far, that was a wild one, wasn't it?
Cheers.
Cheers. But yeah, so that was the end of the episode, right? I think it ends on that.
Yes. That
yeah.
Finally figured.
Oh yeah.
Painting.
It pans away of the art of the show.
And you kind of
get the end of our
portrait.
Yeah. You can kind of see it and you're like, "Oh, Charlotte." But that is the end of season 1, episode 5, The Power of Female Sex.
Female sex. Very, very powerful.
Very interesting episode for sure.
Really is.
Again, like talking about this like back then in the 90s, I feel like was a power move within itself to put this on air. And like, you know, it's funny because we talk about these things now and we're kind of like, yeah, of course. But back then it probably wasn't seen that way. There's probably women or like mothers being like, you are not watching that show, turn that shit off, like, you know, all that jazz. So it's cool how we have definitely become a little bit more normalized as a society when it comes to sex, which is, I think, is great. But yeah, so got through the episode. This one was, we said earlier, they always get a little more risque. There's always going to be more topics about it. Let's be real, it's Sex in the City, okay? We're going to be talking about some crazy topics as always. Some aren't so much, some are.
And we're gonna have so much fun.
Yeah, we're going to have fun. That's all we're here for. We're here to have fun. We're here to see what you guys think. Have some fun with us. Talk about it. Leave like I said, we always say leave some comments, or if you want to send a DM or whatever you want to do, absolutely just message us, see what we can talk about more, if there's something you want us to do different. But again, thank you. If you made it to the end, thank you. Any kind of listen, thank you. It's been an absolute joy. I cannot believe we are already 5 episodes in, which has been 5 weeks of this. That kind of flew on by, and I've enjoyed every second. It's definitely, it's different. My life feels full. I love doing this. So I love that people love what we do. Like it's the best feeling. So super excited to get through the rest of the season 1, especially. We have 7 more episodes now. We are almost halfway there. There are 12 episodes to this season. But yeah, so super cool. Thank you guys so much for sticking it out and listening. Anything you do. We're going to be back next week with episode 6. Huh.
Big wasn't in this episode.
Big was not in this. I thought that too towards the end. We have another episode where Big was not in this one. So, which is interesting. I do like how, you know, he's not always the main fucking character. So. Not yet, but anyway. So again, thank you again. We were going to catch you back next week for season 1, episode 6. We are super excited. Thank you again. So we love you guys so much. We will see you guys next week. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Where we talk about
next week.
Sex.
Secret Sex is the next episode. So
episode 6.
Get ready and stay tuned. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Bye.
Bye. See you next week.